Nobody believes you when you can't speak. They see you gesturing frantically, pointing, drawing crude pictures in the dirt, grabbing their arms, trying desperately to communicate something urgent, and they think you're confused, brain damaged from the battle, traumatized, hallucinating. They pat your shoulder, tell you to rest, that everything's fine, that you're safe now, but everything isn't fine. Einar had seen the betrayal, watched the Jarl's champion, the man who'd saved the settlement 3 times, who everyone loved except payment from enemy agents, watched him draw maps, agree to sabotage. He tried everything, writing in the dirt, acting it out, bringing people to the meeting spot after the traitor had left, but without words, without voice, without the ability to simply say what he'd seen. Nobody understood, nobody believed. And in 3 days, the enemy would attack. The gates would open from inside, and everyone would die because Einar couldn't make them understand. Northern coastal settlement, late summer, 899 AD. A fortified trading post that controlled access to 3 river valleys. Strategic, valuable, worth fighting for. The settlement had been under threat for months. A rival clan from the south wanted control of the trade routes, wanted the harbor, wanted everything. 3 weeks ago, they'd attacked. 50 warriors, good fighters, well-equipped. The settlement's defense had been desperate, outnumbered 2 to 1, fighting from behind wooden palisades while the enemy tried to burn their way through. The battle lasted 6 hours. Brutal, chaotic, the kind of fight where survival was more luck than skill. Einar, 23 winters, competent fighter, nothing special, had been manning the northern wall when it happened. An enemy warrior had thrown something, not a spear, not an axe, something else. A clay pot filled with oil and fire, primitive explosive. It hit the wall 3 feet from Einar, shattered, exploded. The blast threw him backward, slammed his head against the support beam. Everything went white, then black, then nothing. He woke hours later. The battle was over. Victory. The settlement had held. But something was wrong. Einar could hear people celebrating, could see their mouths moving, could understand their words. But when he tried to respond, tried to say, "What happened?" nothing came out. Not a whisper, not a rasp, just silence. He tried again, felt his vocal cords, felt his throat working, felt air moving through his mouth, but no sound emerged. Panic hit. He grabbed the nearest warrior, tried to speak, mouthed words desperately. The warrior looked confused. "Einar, are you all right?" Einar pointed at his throat, tried again to speak. Nothing. "Can't you talk? Gods, did you take a hit to the throat?" The warrior called a healer, an old woman named Signa who treated battle wounds for 40 years. She examined Einar carefully, looked down his throat, felt his neck, checked for damage. "No, physical injury," she said finally. "Throat is intact, vocal cords appear normal." "Then why can't he speak?" the warrior asked. "Battle shock. The mind sometimes protects itself from trauma by shutting down certain functions. I've seen it before. Warriors who go blind after witnessing terrible things, others who can't hear after particularly loud battles, and some who lose their voice. Will it come back?" Signa shrugged. "Sometimes, sometimes not. The mind heals at its own pace, or doesn't heal at all." Einar wanted to scream, wanted to demand treatment, wanted to know if this was permanent, but he couldn't ask, couldn't speak, couldn't do anything except listen to them discuss his condition as if he wasn't there. The first 2 days were humiliating. People treated him differently, spoke to him slowly, loudly, as if he were deaf rather than mute. Some avoided him entirely, uncomfortable with the silence. Einar learned quickly that communication without speech was frustratingly limited. Simple needs, water, food, sleep, could be conveyed through gestures. Point at water, mime drinking, people understood. But anything complex became nearly impossible. He tried writing, but he'd never learned proper runes, could scratch a few letters in dirt, but forming complete sentences was beyond his skill. He tried drawing pictures, but his artistic ability was non-existent. His drawings looked like a child's scribbles. He tried acting things out, but without context, people just thought he was having some kind of episode. The clan felt sorry for him, a promising young warrior, silenced in his prime. They gave him light duties, told him to rest, to heal. He hated their pity almost as much as the silence. 3 days after the battle, Einar couldn't sleep. The settlement was celebrating their victory. Ale flowing, stories being told, boasts about individual prowess in combat. Einar sat alone, couldn't participate, couldn't share his own experience, couldn't even toast with his brothers. Near midnight, he walked outside, needed air, needed to escape the noise of voices he couldn't join. The settlement was quiet beyond the celebration hall, guards on the walls, most people inside drinking. Einar walked toward the northern gate, planning to relieve himself, maybe walk the perimeter, anything to feel useful. That's when he heard voices, not from the celebration, from outside the wall, in the forest just beyond the cleared killing ground. Einar moved quietly. Years of hunting had taught him stealth. He approached the palisade, found a gap between logs, looked through. 2 figures in the moonlight, meeting in the trees where guards couldn't see from the walls. One was a stranger, dressed in the style of the Southern clan, the enemy. The other was someone Einar recognized immediately, Bjorn the Loyal, the settlement's champion, the Jarl's right hand, the man who'd personally killed 8 enemy warriors during the recent battle, the man everyone trusted. Absolutely. Bjorn was talking to an enemy scout. Einar's blood went cold. He couldn't hear the conversation clearly, just fragments, but he saw enough. Saw the stranger hand Bjorn a leather pouch, heavy, coins clinking. Saw Bjorn take it, open it, nod with satisfaction. Saw Bjorn pull out a piece of hide, draw on it with charcoal, a map showing the settlement's layout, the weak points in the palisade, where the guards were stationed. Saw the stranger ask questions. Saw Bjorn answer, point at different sections of the drawing. Then the stranger said something, the date, 3 days from now. Bjorn nodded, drew something else on the map, an X mark at the eastern gate. The stranger smiled, handed Bjorn another pouch, heavier than the first. They spoke a bit more, then parted. The stranger melting into the forest, Bjorn walking back toward the settlement, tucking the pouches inside his cloak. Einar stood frozen, mind racing. Bjorn was betraying the settlement, planning to open the gates during the next attack in 3 days. He had to tell someone, had to warn the Jarl, had to. Then he remembered he couldn't speak. Einar tried anyway, ran to the celebration hall, found the first warrior he recognized, grabbed his arm, pointed frantically toward the wall, toward where Bjorn had been. The warrior, a man named Ulf, looked confused. Einar, what's wrong? Einar pointed again, tried to mime, made gestures for Bjorn, for the enemy, for betrayal. Ulf just looked more confused. I don't understand. Are you all right? Did you see something? Einar nodded frantically, pointed at Bjorn, who was now entering the hall, pointed at the gate, made stabbing motions. You think there's a threat at the gate? I just came from there. It's fine. Guards are alert. No, that's not. Einar tried again, grabbed Ulf's arm, led him outside, brought him to the gap in the palisade where he'd witnessed the meeting, but the forest was empty now. No figures, no evidence. Ulf looked at the empty clearing, then at Einar with growing concern. There's nothing here. Einar, I think you need to rest. The head injury, you're seeing things that aren't there. Einar shook his head violently, pointed at the ground where the men had stood, tried to mime the exchange of silver. Ulf put a hand on his shoulder, gentle, pitying. I know the injury was bad. I know you're frustrated about losing your voice, but you need to trust the healers. Rest. Let your mind heal. He guided Einar back toward the hall, like leading a confused child. Einar wanted to scream, to grab Ulf, to force him to understand, but he couldn't, and Ulf's expression said everything. He thought Einar was damaged, hallucinating, unreliable. The next morning, Einar tried a different approach. He found charcoal, found a smooth piece of wood, tried to write. His letters were clumsy, barely legible, but he managed to scratch Bjorn, traitor. He brought it to the Jarl's hall, showed it to the guards. They looked at the crude writing, then at him. Bjorn, a traitor? Einar, that's a serious accusation. Einar nodded urgently, pointed at the words. Can you explain why you think this? Einar tried to draw more, tried to sketch the meeting. 2 figures, exchange of pouches, map. The guard studied the scratches, showed them to his partner. I can't make sense of this, it's just marks. Einar, are you sure you're well enough to be walking around? Einar grabbed the board, added more details, drew the palisade, the forest, tried to show the exchange, but his drawing skills were terrible. It looked like meaningless scribbles. The guards exchanged glances, the kind of look people give when dealing with someone who's lost their mind. Tell you what, one guard said carefully, why don't you rest today? We'll mention your concerns to the Jarl, all right? They wouldn't mention anything. Einar could see it in their faces. They thought he was brain damaged, confused, making wild accusations because trauma had broken, something in his mind. Day 2, 1 day closer to the attack. Einar tried everything he could think of. He followed Bjorn, hoping to catch him in another meeting, but Bjorn was careful, never went anywhere suspicious while being observed. He tried to communicate with hand signals, developed crude gestures for key concepts, enemy, betrayal, gate, attack, but without context, people just thought he was having fits, strange movements, battle shock manifesting as physical symptoms. He found the healer, Signa, tried to make her understand, pointed at his throat, at Bjorn, at the gate. She gave him calming tea, told him to rest, that agitation would slow his healing. He tried the Jarl himself, managed to get an audience, fell to his knees before the old leader, pointed frantically at Bjorn, who stood nearby, tried to mime betrayal. The Jarl looked at Bjorn. Do you know what he's trying to say? Bjorn, calm, concerned, perfectly playing the role of loyal champion, shook his head. I think the head injury affected him more than we realized, my Jarl. He's been acting strangely, following me, making accusations he can't explain. Accusations? The guards mentioned he tried to write something about me being a traitor, but the writing was illegible, barely even letters. I think he's confused, possibly hallucinating. The Jarl looked at Einar with sympathy. Einar, you served well in the battle. You've earned rest. Take time. Heal. We'll find light duties for you when you're ready. Dismissal. Kind, but absolute. Einar left the hall wanting to break something, to scream, to force them to understand. But he couldn't scream, couldn't explain, couldn't do anything except watch the settlement continue normal life while a traitor walked among them, preparing to destroy everything. That night, Einar tried something desperate. He waited until late, until Bjorn would likely try to meet his contact again, positioned himself near the gap in the palisade, hidden, watching. Sure enough, near midnight, Bjorn approached, looked around carefully, slipped through a service gate. Einar followed, silent, staying in shadows. Bjorn met the same enemy scout, same location. They spoke briefly. Bjorn confirmed the plan. 3 days from now, tomorrow now, the eastern gate. He would drug the guards ale. When they slept, he'd open the gate from inside. The enemy would pour in, kill the Jarl first, secure the hall, then the rest of the settlement. Bjorn would be spared, given a position in the new order, rewarded handsomely. The scout handed Bjorn a final payment. They clasped arms, brothers in betrayal. Then they separated. Einar's mind raced. He had confirmation now, concrete details, time, location, method. He had to find a way to communicate this, had to make someone understand. He ran back to the settlement, found Ulf, the warrior from before, grabbed him, dragged him toward the wall. Einar, what are you? Einar pulled him to the gap, pointed at the forest where the meeting had just occurred. But again, it was empty. The figures long gone. Ulf sighed. There's nothing there. Again. Einar, you need to stop this. You're making people worried. Some are saying the head injury was worse than we thought, that maybe you shouldn't be around weapons until you've healed. They thought he was dangerous now, unstable. Einar released Ulf's arm, felt despair crushing him. How do you prove what you saw when you can't speak? When the evidence disappears before you can bring witnesses? When the traitor is more trusted than you are? Final day. The attack would come tonight. Einar spent the morning trying one last time to communicate. He drew pictures, built a model of the settlement with sticks and stones, used different colored rocks to represent defenders and attackers, showed the eastern gate opening. People gathered to watch, curious about what the mute warrior was doing. Some thought it was impressive, a detailed model. Maybe he's found a new calling, someone said. Building models, artistic work. Others thought it was sad. Brain damage makes people do strange things. Nobody understood it was a warning, a prediction, a desperate attempt to communicate danger. The Jarl came to look, studied the model. Interesting. Einar, is this about the battle? Are you trying to show us how it happened? Einar shook his head frantically, pointed at the eastern gate model, knocked it over, showed enemy pieces pouring through. You think we're vulnerable at the eastern gate? Yes. Finally, Einar nodded, pointed at Bjorn, then at the gate, then made stabbing motions. The Jarl frowned. You think Bjorn is a threat to the eastern gate? Einar nodded desperately. Bjorn, what do you think? The Jarl asked. Bjorn approached, looked at the model. His face showed perfect concern. My Jarl, I think Einar is trying to warn us about potential attacks. The head injury may have made him paranoid, seeing threats everywhere. But perhaps we should increase patrols at the eastern gate anyway, just to be safe. For Einar's peace of mind, if nothing else. The Jarl nodded. Good idea. Double the eastern gate guard tonight. No, that's not. Einar tried to show that Bjorn himself was the threat. But how? How do you communicate that the man everyone trusts is planning to drug the guards? That more guards just meant more victims. He couldn't, and his window was closing. Evening came. The settlement prepared for night. Normal routines. No sense of danger. Einar watched Bjorn carefully. Saw him approach the eastern gate guards with a skin of ale. Thought you boys might want something to warm you on watch. Gets cold out here. The guards thanked him. Their champion. Their hero. Of course they'd accept ale from him. Einar tried to intervene, knocked the skin from a guard's hand before he could drink. What the? Einar, that was good ale. Bjorn helped pick up the skin. It's all right, he's not well. Einar, you should rest. You're getting worse. The guards agreed, looked at Einar with a mixture of pity and annoyance. Bjorn offered them another skin. Here, I have more. Don't mind him. They drank. Within an hour, they'd be unconscious. Einar felt helpless rage building. He tried everything, and still nobody believed him. He did the only thing left, positioned himself at the eastern gate, sitting, refusing to move. "Einar, you can't sleep here," the guard said. He shook his head, planted himself. If they were going to open this gate, they'd have to move him first. The guards sighed. "Fine, stay if you want. Just don't get in the way." They drank more ale. Bjorn's drugged ale. An hour later, they were yawning, struggling to stay alert. "Must have been a long day," one muttered. "Feel so tired." They slumped against the wall, eyes closing, the drug working perfectly. Bjorn appeared from the shadows, checked the guards, confirmed they were unconscious. Then he saw Einar, sitting, watching, knowing. Their eyes met. Bjorn's expression changed. The kindly concern dropped, replaced by cold calculation. "You saw, didn't you, in the forest? You've been trying to warn them." Einar nodded slowly. "Too bad nobody believes a brain-damaged mute." Bjorn drew his knife. "I'm sorry, Einar. You seem like a good man, but I can't risk you interfering." He approached, knife raised. Einar couldn't call for help, couldn't scream, couldn't alert anyone, but he could fight. He grabbed a spear from the sleeping guard's hand, stood, positioned himself between Bjorn and the gate. Bjorn stopped. "You think you can beat me? I'm the settlement's champion. You're a mediocre fighter even when you're healthy. Now you're brain damaged and silent." Einar didn't move, just held the spear. If Bjorn wanted to open this gate, he'd have to go through him. Bjorn lunged, fast, skilled, his knife aiming for Einar's throat. Einar blocked with the spear shaft, barely. The impact sent pain through his arms. They fought in silence. Einar couldn't yell, couldn't make noise to alert others, just the soft sounds of wood and metal clashing. Bjorn was better, faster, more experienced. He cut Einar's arm, his shoulder, wounds accumulating. But Einar had something Bjorn didn't: desperation. The knowledge that if he fell, everyone died. He fought like he'd never fought before. Every technique he'd learned, every dirty trick he knew. They crashed into the gate, into the wall. A water barrel tipped, crashed. Finally, someone heard. "What's that noise?" A warrior approaching. "The eastern gate." Bjorn tried to finish Einar quickly, slash his throat, run before being discovered. But Einar caught his wrist, held it, prevented the strike. The warrior arrived, saw them fighting. "What in Odin's name? Bjorn? Einar? What are you doing?" Other warriors came, drawn by the commotion. Bjorn's face showed panic for the first time, his plan falling apart. He tried to explain. "Einar attacked me. The head injury. He's gone mad." But the warriors saw the unconscious guards, the opened pouch of silver that had fallen from Bjorn's cloak during the fight, the map tucked into his belt. One warrior picked up the map, unfolded it, saw the settlement's layout, the defensive positions, notes in the enemy's language. "Bjorn, what is this?" Bjorn had no answer, no explanation that would work. The Jarl was called, came quickly, saw the scene, the evidence, the drugged guards starting to wake. "Bind him," the old leader said quietly. "We'll have answers, one way or another." Under interrogation, Bjorn confessed, promised wealth by the southern clan, tired of being champion without real power, wanted to rule instead of serve. The eastern gate was reinforced. The enemy attack came that night as planned. But instead of an open gate, they found a defended position, ambushed, destroyed. The settlement survived because one silent warrior had refused to give up, had positioned himself at the gate when words failed. After the battle, the Jarl called Einar before the assembly. "You saved us. When you couldn't speak, couldn't write, couldn't communicate, you still found a way, stood at that gate, fought when fighting was all you had left." The assembly struck their shields. Approval, respect. The Jarl continued. "Your voice may be gone, but your actions spoke louder than any words. From this day, you're no longer just a warrior. You're Einar, the silent guardian, protector, defender, the man who proved that truth doesn't need words to be heard." Einar wanted to thank them, wanted to say something profound, but he couldn't, so he just nodded. Acceptance, gratitude. His voice never returned. The battle shock had been too severe, too deep. But Einar adapted, learned to communicate through writing, through gestures, through the kind of body language that spoke volumes without sound. He became a trusted advisor. People learned to read his signs, to understand his warnings, to trust his judgment. Some things he realized didn't need words: a hand on the shoulder, a warning gesture, a stance that said, "I won't let you pass." These spoke louder than any speech. Years later, when young warriors complained about not being heard, about being ignored, about nobody listening, Einar would shake his head. He'd point to his throat, then to his eyes, then to his hands. The message was clear. Words are easy. Anyone can talk. But making people understand, truly understand, takes more than speech, takes persistence. persistence, takes action, takes refusing to give up even when communication seems impossible. The silent witness taught more through his silence than most men teach through a lifetime of words, because sometimes the loudest message is the one you don't say, it's the one you live.